interview what you also have some questions.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, but before I start asking my questions, I would just like that just introduce yourself. Tell us about you, your name, what you do,
All right.
and I mean, basically how you started, what you do,
Huh.
and yeah.
Do we have time? Because there's a lot. Okay. My name is Daniel Odunlami, and I'm a marketing professional. However, I didn't start as a marketing professional. I think I've always been a marketing professional, but I didn't study marketing in university. I think that's the first thing I should say. By education, by degree, I'm a farmer. So I studied agric extension and rural development, from the Federal University of Agriculture. And, you know, this was like how many years ago now? I got in 2011 or thereabout. And even though I was studying agriculture, I've always just known that I was not going to do agriculture. Not because I didn't like it, but it wasn't just something that I enjoyed. I mean, I did very well. I came out with a 2-1. So it's not like as if maybe I wasn't doing well in school. But it wasn't just something that I was passionate about. But marketing, on the other hand, I was passionate about it. I think for me, it was the idea that I could think of something, and that thing that I'm thinking about will become another person's bread and butter. It will become their Bible. I could come up with an idea, a phrase, a catchline, a tagline, and just something that I thought of in my bathroom while taking my bath will become something that another brand or a client would go crazy about, start marketing and doing all that with. And I think that that was the thing that fascinated me about marketing. And it gave me the opportunity to think, there was no limit. I'm a very imaginative person. I have a very active imagination. You will not be able to imagine when you're a farmer. This is not a shade to farmers, though. I mean, we all need food. But you won't be able to really put your imagination to work as a farmer. ISI is pure imagination is to maybe make sure the crops grow better and all that. So you'll be able to come up with crazy ideas, crazy concepts, crazy themes and all of that. And for me, that was really something I was crazy about. I remember then while I was in school, I helped some of my friends come up with brand identity for themselves. I helped some of them, come up with logos. It was even though I didn't really have proper idea of how it worked, but I just knew that these were some of the things that was necessary. So coming up with logo, coming up with business plan was my thing. So I just knew that once I leave this school, it's definitely going to be marketing. So when I finished my service, I knew where I was going to be applying to. First of all, how I was going to apply. And fortunately for me, I got offers in about 3 or 4 different places. And it was not for a great job, it was for this marketing stuff. I think the first one was I got an offer to be a content writer at a publication company. I got another to be a content analyst. And then there was also another job I got with this. There was a company then, it was Link Up. So they needed somebody that could help them, put together the marketing and all of that. And, at that time, I was not confused, like, which one should I go for? I mean, I liked all of them. I started asking people for advice, like, what do you think I should do? And I remember somebody came to me and said, oh, well, if you have all this offer in a time like this, it means that you definitely have something that people are looking forward to. So the next question should be, what do you want? And follow that. Don't look at which one has better pay or which one is. So when I heard that, I decided to join Free Me Digital. There, I joined Free Me Digital as an intern, actually. Not because, they were paying me Amroba salary. They were not. They were paying me chicken change then. But I just feel like that was where I would get the exposure. And I was right, So from an intern, I became a content analyst, worked on content for Tubaba, Rude Boy, Mr. P, Small Doctor. Every week, you have all these celebrities strolling to our office. So I was like, yeah, so this is the big life. It kind of gave me the exposure. So I was like, yeah, I made the right choice for myself. Wow. As opposed to where one company has embedded that others come and be writing for them. I probably would not have gotten that kind of exposure there. And from there, that was how I started, in marketing. And from there, I worked as a copywriter and a client executive for a branding agency. From there, I moved to another agency where I worked as a brand strategist. There, I moved to brand creative. From there, head of growth and strategy. And currently now, I work with the EME agency as their marketing operations manager. So I help put together everything that has to do with their marketing operations.
Did you say EME?
Yes, EME.
EMA.
EME.
Like
That's
Bank W's.
yes, wow. Yes, that EME. But so EME, of course, many people know EME as a record label.
Yeah.
But they are transitioning into not just a record label now, but more like of 360 marketing company.
Okay.
So we're doing a lot more than just music now. I mean, there's a music side to the business, but bearing in mind that this is a record label that has the reputation, they've been around for a long time. They've been able to harness the expertise from talent management to putting together events and on the likes. So it only made sense that they decided let's be a 360 media company
Yeah.
doing all things marketing. And that's where I've been hiding for about more than 6 months now, going to about a year now. I've been hiding there.
To be honest, I'm kind of like surprised when you said it right now because I didn't even know that you had moved.
I moved quite a number of times.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think the reason why I moved, for me, I don't like moving too much because again, it's a bad reputation. Anytime you want to tell anybody anything, and you say, how long this one there? You say 3 months. This one a bad red flag.
Yeah.
But at the same time, again, like I told you, that very first advice I got when I was starting off, that they said, look, it means you have value, you have something to offer.
Yeah.
Anywhere you're going to go now, go for somewhere that you see yourself growing with and somewhere you really want to be. Not necessarily because they're paying you more, not necessarily because the office is closer to your house or whatever. All those things will come in as a later reason. But the ultimate reason should be, what do I want from this job? What do I want for myself? And chase that thing that you want. So that at the end of the day, if you're thinking back, you won't be saying, and I should have gone for this one, or you won't have regrets because you went with what you wanted. Even if it comes out bad, this was what I wanted, and you were able to live with it. So that was why, I changed a couple of times, and finally I'm where I am by the grace of God.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are a definition of growth.
Yeah.
Like as in, it's just really cool to be able to see that. You're one of the most creative person that I've ever met. As in ideas a rules for the body.
I mean, again, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do marketing actually. Because I mean, you're not the first person to give me that feedback.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot. People always say that. People always come around and say, "And you have these crazy ideas and all that." And the only place where I have seen ideas come to life is in marketing. You can't really see ideas come to life in any other. I mean, Super Bowl was last week.
Yeah.
You saw a lot of creative adverts and all of that.
Yeah.
There's no other place you want to have an idea, even if you are doing movies. There's limits.
Yeah, true.
But when you're in marketing, advertising and marketing, people would always want to try something new. How else can we make this approach? I mean, and you see some of the things that people have done in the past, and you are blown away. You're like, oh man, I never started. There's a lot of work to be done. So I just felt like naturally I tilted into marketing, and I think that has been it for me, really.
Wow. That's really cool. Wow.
Thank you.
That wasn't a short introduction at all.
That's why I asked you if you have time.
Well, I like it. I like it. So yeah. So let's just continue. So yeah, I have a couple of questions.
All right. Hit me.
So my first question. Yeah. Okay. I think you had already answered that. I wanted to ask that. What were you like as a child, and were there any signs that you had ended up in marketing and brand management?
Let me tell you a fun fact. As a child, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a doctor. In fact, I've forgotten this book I read that time when I was growing up, and I kind of patterned my life to feel like the characters in that book. I mean, growing up, I was a very I wouldn't say maybe creative,
Yeah.
but I had an active imagination as the case is. And I was an intelligent student. Uh, I was not held back in any way, so I was really smart. I think by the time I was in primary one, I could read very well. I remember very well that my teachers would say I should come and read for the class when they are doing a comprehension. So when you're reading Ali and CB, they will give me the book and tell me to come to the front of the class to read. So I was that kind of kid, you know. So I've always wanted to be a doctor. Doctor was the thing for me. So naturally, because I wanted to be a doctor, I went to science class.
Wow.
And I think my tendencies as a young guy were miles away from science class, you know. But one of I think which is one of the things that affected me also was the fact that I wanted to maybe because I was what everybody I wouldn't have seen myself doing maybe I didn't see myself as being an actor or mass com. I was like, ah, now serious people they do that kind of work.
It's true.
Once you are a serious student, you know, once you don't have any playful tendency, like you're serious, you're a smart guy, you know book, you know that kind of thing that when you're in primary school, you carry first, second, or third. People always feel like this one is either you're a lawyer or an engineer.
Doctor.
So for me, doctor was the thing. In fact, when I was in secondary school, I loved biology.
Wow.
I love biology. It was almost as if biology was the only course that I knew when I was in school there. So for me, tendencies have always been drawn around being a medical doctor, as I thought I would. But people always told me then that, man, are you in arts class? You should totally be in arts class because I remember then we used to do drama when I was in secondary school then in church. We do drama, I used to coordinate. Even though I was not in drama, but I would just come in when they are doing the drama and give them an idea. Say, how are you guys doing it like this? Why don't you change this one, this one, change this one? They'll be like, what? We didn't even think of this thing. Oh. How come you just came here and you saw this and you thought of it that way? You should be in art class. I'll say, no, 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 no. Science class all the way. Until when jam me. Jam me, and then I had to now start asking myself, but wait a minute. You know, now that I think back, I realize maybe I would have made better progress in my life if probably I had not, you know, maybe I don't think it's peer pressure, I think it's community pressure.
It's true.
I think I don't know, but I think there's such a thing as community pressure
Yes.
where you know there's an expectation, and it's not like as if my parents forced me and said you must be a doctor, but you just felt like the only honorable and dignifying job you could do if you are not a lawyer or engineer or pilot was to be a doctor. Now I'm thinking about this, I'm still making me laugh. But I mean, that has been it. So, I mean, after jam me a couple of times, I started rethinking. And then at that time, I was like, you know what, let me start just pass through university.
Yeah, just go to school.
We figure it out when I
Yeah.
graduate. So while I was in university, that was when I truly realized that, man, I've been wasting my time with this with a science thing. You know.
Right.
Let me just settle it. And you know, thanks to God and thankfully,
Yeah.
again, that's how you just see that sometimes some things are in you, like God has just placed in you, whether you study it in school or not. It's just yours. But I always feel like if I had studied it in school, I probably would have been, you know, miles ahead of where I am currently. So that's my story.
But currently, you're not doing bad at all. Like,
I'm trying.
you're doing well.
I'm trying.
I know you're not where you want to be yet, but then you're not where you were before. as
Oh
well.
yeah, I mean,
So,
I'm not there.
I
I'm
know,
not there yet.
like, so that's really good. Okay, that was beautiful. Okay, so was there a moment in your personal life before your career started that unknowingly prepared you for the challenges of marketing and business leadership?
I'd like to say this, and I say this everywhere I go, that I think my personality more or less made me for this very moment. I have been everything about me, you know, points towards what I'm doing currently right now. And I know I used to tell people then, I used to say that how you truly know if you like what you do is if you don't mind not being paid, but you still want to do it. When you get up in the morning and you want to go to work, it's not because you are happy at work, but you just enjoy what you do. It's not because the salary is fat, but just like we do. And I think that that was the thing for me. For me, if there's any traits that I would say has been unique for me, I think it's always been helping people, trying to figure out how to help someone. So somebody comes to me and says, "This my phone is not working." I want to open it up and see what's actually ticking inside of it. That has always been me. So in my house, then if TV is not working, my dad would say, "Well, open it and see what's going on now." He encouraged us to be inquisitive. So I would get the screwdriver, open it up. Even though I don't understand what I'm looking at, but I just want to be useful. I think that was just it. And I think that tied into one of the things that helped my growth personally. Because everywhere that I have worked, I wasn't just saying, "What's in my JD? Okay, this, let me stick with that." But I was more after, how can I be useful in this organization? What are the things that are not working? And how can I be useful? So I'm not, "Oh, we don't have camera. Let's wait until there's a camera." I can always say, "Oh, and I have a phone, and this phone is not bad. Let's use this phone and see. Oh, maybe there's an app we can install on the phone that will give it the kind of effects that you want." And just that way, not necessarily after being recognized, but how can I be helpful? It has helped me to get the kind of recognition that I didn't ask before, and that also gave me the speed. So again, in marketing, it's always about problem solving. Really, anybody that will go far in marketing is about solving problem. In fact, you have clients because they have a problem. Your ability to solve their problem is what makes you a good marketer or not. So I think those are two key things that I discovered helped me also thrive in this space. For me to even understand that you have a problem and understand how I can solve it. And because I'm passionate about solving people's problems, I don't know if it's a weak point or it's or a strong point, but I just enjoy helping people naturally. Oh, your phone is not working. Oh, I know where you can buy this to fix it. Then I used to have this bag in school there, I had screwdriver, I had RAM, I had this thing. So when people come to me, they say, "Hey, my laptop is not working." I open it up, I help them install OS. I don't have driver, I put it there. I need film. I had this hard disk of all the latest films. How I come about those things, I can't even remember now. But I just knew that I was a one-stop shop then. I was the one-stop, like anytime you stop at my room, then every problem you have will kind of have a solution. That had been my trait. So when I started working in marketing, that was also the same thing with me as well. So people that are in other departments will come and meet me to say, "Hey, please, I'm having an issue with so I will help them. And I don't understand this PowerPoint thing, I will help them." Even my own teammates always came to me, and so from there, my line manager started noticing it, like, "Come on, this guy." In fact, he now had less things to worry about because I was always in the gap. If they have any problem, we tell them, "Go and meet Dario." And I think that was how literally that was how I started climbing the ladder. So when he was going to leave, he just told them, "Don't worry about employing somebody else that will lead the team. Daniel is already doing the job," even while I was there. And just like that, I started, leading the team. And before you know it, from there to another level to another level. So I think one of the key traits that I've always had growing up was my passion for wanting to help people or solve problems. I think that is the solver, not mathematical problem. But solving problem has always been my thing. Looking for unconventional ways to solve problems, and taking that to work also helped. Taking that also to even address some of my client problems also was another thing that. So it was just about not just about helping my colleagues. It was also about helping the clients. So they come out and say, "Oh, I've not been able to sell for 10 years. What can we do?" And I'm thinking, how can we solve that problem in an unconventional way? And I think that has just been my secret. That's it. I just leaked my secret. I just leaked my secret just like that. Try. Anyway, sorry.
And that's what most people do not really understand today. They want to make money, but they don't have anything to offer. They don't have any problem solving skill.
Exactly.
Or it's just, "I want to make money, I want to make money."
Exactly.
And people will not pay you. You can't help them.
They won't. They won't pay you. Not that I know that you said we should keep strict time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share.
No,
So I think it was last week. I was talking to a former colleague of mine who, she was working in a new place, and she had a complaint. She was like, "Man, she doesn't like where she's currently working. She's like a glorified salesperson, and she's not just feeling it. compared to where she was before, there was always so many things to do and all of that. And I said, look, you are what you make of where you are. You can complain about your boss from now to next year, but you can also give yourself work to do. If you notice something is not good where you are, what have you done to fix it? Don't wait until your boss comes to tell you this is a problem. If you know this is a problem, don't wait until they make it your JD. I feel one of the things a lot of people do these days, they say, no, 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 it's my JDO. They're not paying me to do this work, so I won't do it. The truth of the matter is that they might not be paying you for it now, but who's to say next year somebody else will be paying you for that very same thing that nobody was paying you for? But over time, you've built capacity. So I advised her and I said, look, the only way you can move from where you currently are now to another place is there are many things that you know that are not working well where you are, that they are not doing properly, that is even making you feel like you're not being utilized. Why don't you sit up and do it? Fix that problem, own it, so that when you even decide that you're going to resign tomorrow, person will see your gap and say, "Chai, Omo, how I wish this person is here all over again." Because you've created something that nobody else can create. Where even the owner of the company didn't know there was a gap, you filled it such that when you leave, you realize that this was a gap. Because before I was enjoying this service free of charge. Now that you're no longer there, I'm no longer getting it. And you have also used that to develop yourself. And I told the girl then, I said, man, that has been how I did it then. By ensuring that every time there's a problem, I don't just sit down and put my hand and say, well, when the company decides to buy a new laptop, will work. No. I decide this work needs to be done. If I have to use my laptop, fine. If I have to go and use free version of a lap of this thing, let me use the free version and let the what is it called that watermark. Let the watermark show. Let my boss see that in my own way, I've done the best that I can do with demo version. If my boss now really likes it, he can say, I love this so much. Go and buy the full version, and they'll buy the full version. But if I'm waiting for them to first of all go and buy it before they see that the thing works, they really won't put their money down to it. Sure. And you would not have proven yourself that you are worth it. And that has always been my own mantra. Everywhere I go to say, identify what's missing and do everything in your power to plug that gap. And before you know it, you'll be indispensable.
Wow. Wisdom just the wisdom is just out of God.
Maybe we should organize like a master class, a pro class.
Honestly, this is happening like a master class.
Yes, so that's
I'm bringing my Raspberry.
So watch out. Watch out. Pro class. Pro class is coming.
Yeah.
We'll be paying in dollars, maybe $500 per head.
All right. So another question is okay. I think when you were doing your introduction, you talked about your very first job, which is freely digital. So like that was
no, my very first job is not freely digital.
You said that was what you interned.
And so that was I told you that I had like 3 different offers. So my very first job is this oil and gas company called Goodness Oil and Gas. I spent like maybe like 3 months there. But while I was there, I had many other offers and the offers kept coming. And I was like, should I just stay with this one or I should move to the other thing? So my very first job after service, because I had many other jobs before service, immediately I finished with service. In fact, let's tell you the story of when I finished service. When I finished with service, I was concerned because what next? I served in Jigawa State and I was like, should I stay in Jigawa State? I should go to Lagos. And while I was in the middle of that contemplation, that's how I just got a call that, hello, yes, we saw your application, because I applied. I applied to literally anywhere and everywhere. That's how I just got a call, like maybe we did POP on Wednesday, Tuesday and Wednesday. I got a call the next day that said, can you be at our office on Friday for an interview? I was like, what? He said, yeah, please come around. We'd like to interview you. That was my first physical interview after my service. Most of the time I was applying, so people would tell me, can you come? I'd be like, I'm not in Lagos, so I'm in Jigawa. They say, sorry, we need the person to be in Lagos. I was like, can you do virtual? They said, no. Virtual was not a big thing then. That was before COVID. So when they called me, I was like, hey, next thing you know, I just packed up my stuff. They called me on Thursday. Friday morning, I was on my way. I think it was on Wednesday they called me. Thursday, I was on my way. I got to Lagos Friday. Saturday morning, I was in the office for the interview. I think I resumed Monday. That Monday, the Monday was, I think, Workers' Day or something like that, so I didn't go. Tuesday, I resumed. So they called me. So they called me after I did that interview by the Monday or Tuesday. They were like, "Oh yeah, we like you, blah blah blah. How would you like to come and resume?" So I told them, just give me a chance. I had to go and collect my certificate first. So I
Wow.
went to get my certificates so this and then I just resumed. So I didn't get to stay at home. So I already resumed, was already working with them. But while I was working with them, that was when I started thinking to myself that so I now started having many others. So all those other places I had applied to, all of them started sending me message
Wow.
to now say, so come for an interview. So I'll go to work today, tomorrow I'll go for another interview. I'll go to work the next day, I'll go for another interview. And I think I was supposed to come to work 3 times a week. Then I was going to work 3 times a week. So I had off days. So those off days I'll go for interview, and then when I go for interview, they will call me back and say, "Yes, we'd like you to come and resume. We'd like you to come and resume." So I was still working at good Goodness Oil and Gas. So I've forgotten their name. There. It was like they used to do this magazine for oil and gas. I was writing for them, and then I was like, "Man, this one will go pay me." I'm not getting action. we're writing about strike. They say Nupeng was striking. There's no oil. This one will get action. So I started considering. So that was why I was actively still searching, and I had no action. But the final motor. So Freebie was now like my official gang. That's why I said it was my first attempt at marketing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's really really good. So for because you know young people that are also coming up in this industry, they are going to be watching this video. So I want for them and for me to so though you had already talked about it before. You had already talked about. In fact, you had already talked about so many of the questions that I even want to ask Seth.
That's how we roll.
Yeah,
That's how we roll. We try to make sure that everything is captured.
everything is covered, Abi.
Yes, everything is
Okay.
captured.
So, um, but I'll still ask again, Sha.
No
You can just
problem.
do a brief. So, how did you transition from your early career roles into becoming a global marketing leader, and what were the key steps?
Okay, how did I transition? I think one thing that I had continued to do was to learn. You need to already see a picture of where you want to be and learn, continue to find out what are the skills you need. I made it a point of duty to make sure that if there's any new thing in that space, I want to be the first person to know about it. That was my thing then. So I'm always the first person to say, "Oh, have you guys seen this website? Have you heard about this technology? Have you heard about this tool?" I was the tool guy. Like I told you, I said when I was in school, I was the go-to one-stop shop. So that has always been my thing. I don't know how or why, but that has always been my thing. So even in the place of work, that was my thing too. I was the guy. You want to find out a tool you can use to get your pictures without background. I know it. You want to find out a website you can use to record without paying money for it. I know it. You want to find out an app, how to crack your app. I have this app. I have the crack.
It's not going to arrest you.
I have the cracked version. Actually, I was just like the plug, So what that meant was that I was in a way in my space. I was kind of like one step ahead, which meant that I was the access point to innovation. There's a new idea. I'm the one that's saying, why don't you try QR codes? Why don't you try augmented reality? I mean, when I was working, every new technological thing that we introduced was from me. I was the one that was pushing it because I had seen it, I liked it, I've tested. Sometimes also I will have tested it in my house or with another thing. So I will now raise it and say, why don't you try this? Why don't you do it? I mean, because it's an agency, sometimes they will put it down and say, no, it's too complex, we don't want. And sometimes they're just open to it and say, okay, this is different. Let's see how it works. And they have to rush at it. And I think that was one of the things that gave me so they made me head of growth and innovation. So because they realized, well, this guy is always coming up with new stuff. Let's put him in a new department. They give me my own brand new department. So that has always been the thing for me. So how did I transition to global marketing talent? I think it's first of all realizing that the market is always growing, it's always changing, it's dynamic, and you also have to move with it. The moment you think to yourself that, well, I'm okay where I am. They are paying me a fair amount of salary and I'm okay with it. At least they are paying me. That once you think that thought, that's the end. So again, like I said, it's not really about the money per se, but it's about the mentality, the mind. You say, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to achieve for myself, and ensuring that you are one step ahead. Okay, so if you position yourself that I want to be a medical doctor, there are things you need to do. You can't wish it. You can't be a doctor by wishful thinking. You know, you can't be a global talent by wishful thinking. What is going on at a global scale? What's the rest of the world doing? I remember then I used to have this folder of ads. I still have it though. I have maybe like over 1,000 videos of different ads from so anytime, so sometimes when I'm just thinking out of it, I just go to that folder and I've been watching different ads, just asking myself what was running through these people's mind when they came up with this thing. So by the time I look at all those things, I've seen examples of what people have done before. It helps me to know how to position myself. So these are some of the things that you need to do.
Wow. Man, that's crazy. Recently I saw an ad by Meta, these Meta glasses
Oh, okay.
that they did with Chris Pratt, Chris Hemsworth,
Oh, that he said he was going to
and
sue.
Jenna. Yeah, like
That he was eating banana.
yeah, banana worth of $65 million. I was like, what? Like this advert is like it's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah,
just
yeah.
like, do you know that since that time I've been interested in like because I'm just like, what is look at this.
So, I mean, that's exactly the advantage of advertising marketing. You see, when you're doing advertising marketing, when you're thinking of that thing and you're able to tie it back to the brand, anything goes.
Yeah.
Literally anything goes. If you can think it, it can be done. You know. And again, because this is not really like a movie or something. I mean, movie too has its own side when we go into movies too. I mean, for me, that's where I want to go to eventually. To be able to do my own movies, but that's a story for another day. But for advertising, there's also money there. I mean, brands will put money behind an idea that they think makes sense. So if you have an idea and that idea is a killer idea, they will put all their resources behind it. They will put a lot of money. Sometimes they might not put money at first, but if they now see that the thing is gaining momentum and the thing is doing very well, they'll put all of their resources behind it to make sure that that thing gives them the kind of exposure that they want. And very rarely would you see any other industry or space where people would invest billions of dollars over an idea. It's just an idea. It's, I mean, well, it always starts as an idea. But it's an idea, always starts as what if so is so. Like the meta we talked about now. Somebody can just go and say, what if we have popular celebrities play with this and then they use our glass to do that? And who says, wow, I like that idea. And then they pitch it to another person. And then before you know it, it gets to the marketing team in Meta. And then they like the idea. And they invest money in it. And we're not talking about thousands, we're talking about millions that will be invested in it.
Yes.
But it always starts from an idea. And I think that's the most valuable asset you can have when you're in marketing. An idea. Once you have an idea, every other thing would always worship if you know how to sell. I think I should correct myself. Knowing how to sell an idea, because it's not just about having an idea, because I mean everybody has ideas every day. But how selling that idea, that's where the real work is. That's where we have pitches, putting together, a presentation, a plan. If you can sell the idea, you'll be swimming in money.
Marketing is wide. Like
It is.
when I watched Emily in Paris, I don't know if you
Yeah.
I was like, this is crazy. The way they pitch ideas to their clients.
Yes.
Some say they like it, some say they sleepless nights.
Yes.
Well, it's crazy.
I think even for their own side, things are even much. I don't know if that's the reality. Maybe sometimes they will simplify it.
Yeah.
It's just like this Abby. There's this Netflix series. I think it's about Abby something. It's similar to this Emily in Paris, but it's about a girl, but it's Nigerian and this thing.
Okay.
And what I feel is different over there and here is the fact that here they don't value, or let me not say they don't value. Let me use that word still. We don't value ideas as much as they do over there.
Yeah.
So because we don't value ideas, people don't put money down for it. Because the ideas, maybe because we are overpopulated. There's a million and one ideas. In fact, your gate man has an idea for you. But over there, just to get idea is a lot. So for me to even have an idea for you, I must be on your payroll. You must be paying me to give you an idea. So you have a lot of agencies that are on retainership over there. Unlike here, that you don't have so many. Everybody is trying to pitch for the same account. everybody's trying to, cut their budget. So the clients are living like gods and goddesses.
Wow.
So the dynamics change. So that's why again I always say if you're going into it, and that's why I always tell my subordinates, especially when some of them they want to leave where they currently are, they're trying to get another job, and I say, look, if you're making that move just because of money, chances are that you would always have needs that surpass how much you're earning.
Yes,
You know,
definitely.
I remember one of my former bosses used to say, look, if you think money is the problem, if you start earning 1 million naira today, you will have 1 million naira problem.
Yeah,
And that thing came to life. Even for me,
yes.
before I used to think, how much if I'm just earning like 500,000? Well, I earned 500,000 and I had 500,000, but I'm like, this salary is never enough. And the guy will tell you, salary will never ever be enough. Because the moment you start earning that eye that you're looking at, you start having that problem. You realize that 1,000 naira data is no longer enough. You now have to do 5K. You now realize that 5 liter fuel is no longer enough.
No.
So the truth of the matter is that money should not be your motivation for making that transition. It should always be what exactly do you want? What are you targeting for yourself? Now, if while trying to get to that place, money is involved, yeah, by all means go for it. But don't just make the move because they are going to pay me more or there's more money there. But it's not aligning with what you see for yourself the next 5 years. You would get the money, but you won't get the happiness. You won't move. You will just stay, stagnated. So that's a big one for you to take home.
Wow. Wow. No, no, no. This is actually this is a masterclass.
I know, I know, I know.
Okay,
I
one
don't know
question.
why. All right, go.
Which brand in Nigeria or which company in Nigeria do you think has nailed branding and marketing?
Um, that has I would need to think very well, but I think Coke does a good job.
Mm.
Coca-Cola, they always get it. I've seen Coca-Cola do some really impressive marketing. Maybe because of the reputation they have, and they have a really big team
Yeah.
and a really big budget,
Mm.
right? If I've seen smaller brands that have done very good job that I liked, I think I liked I always tell people that sometimes it's not just about making noise on radio and TV.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's about how you walk through your consumer journey from the beginning to the end. Brands that have done that we never knew or we didn't know how they just found their way into our hearts is brands like Kuda, for example.
Mm.
So when Kuda started, Kuda did not do billboard, they didn't do poster, they didn't do radio advert. They just offered quality service. They just made sure that what they were doing was on point, very good. Like it was so good that you have to tell somebody about it.
Yeah.
And I always tell people that the best form of marketing is word of mouth.
Word of mouth. Yeah.
You see all those TV and radio. Think about everything that you own currently. You realize that at least 80% of them you bought it because somebody told you it was good.
Yes.
Not necessarily because somebody came and danced in front of you on TV and told you, well, buy this product. But just because somebody that you knew that you trusted told you this is the next thing, this is the next big thing. You should have it. Or you see somebody using it and you like it and you ask the person, is this good? The person says, Oto Noni, this is it. And then you be like, I need to get mine too. People didn't buy iPhone because they saw iPhone's adverts and it was good. They saw it because somebody else was using it and they realized that the person that was using it was a big boy, or because the person was using it, there was a certain affluence gathered, so they're using it. And that's why I liked Kuda's approach actually. I think another that I liked was also money points. I talk about money points later on. But I think Kuda didn't do any ad, they just gave good products and organically without investing in marketing people started talking about the product, and before you know it, they had their first 1,000, their first 10,000, till they got to a phase where they now realize that, oh, more, if we really need to scale, we have to now start telling people. And that's usually how the roadmap should be. You shouldn't just jump into the market and invest $1 million. People would see it quite all right. But if they don't have good experience of that product, they won't tell others about it.
True.
But when you have a good experience, that the experience is so good that you tell others that you're like, didn't you see? That's the end. So that's it. For Money Point, I like how Money Point used influencers, to advertise business name account. That was also an ingenious, advert. I mean, it was quite creative. I mean, I'm talking about those adverts that I'm talking about those marketing campaigns that you didn't really need to spend $1 million on it, and the ROI, because at the end of the day, ROI is important. You didn't need to spend $1 million. You just need to spend, just small change, and people saw the results. And people, I mean, if you want to look at other marketing ideas like MTN and Airtel, those guys have big budgets. So you can't be spending that kind of money and your marketing will not show. Like when Airtel had this guy on board, and it was like, they say become chief of data. I like that copy, right? It was nice. But I mean, these guys have money. So I don't usually count them because they have budgets to back it up. If it's just like if you have money and then you definitely it will show. If you have money, but people that don't have money, that they have very little amount of money, but they are able to, do something. There's this international brand, I've forgotten their name, but I read about it. They used to do homemade what's it called now? Homemade what's it called now? What is called this peanut paste.
Okay.
They have it in different flavors, and I was reading about how their marketing got them to start having about $1 million a day.
Wow.
So all they did was this same idea that Coca-Cola did, right? But instead of putting people's name there, they now did it in such a way that you can personalize the name that will be on that thing, and you can have a personalized recipe. They just came up with this very, I don't want to say crude, but it was simple. Let me use the word simple. It was a very simple idea, a simple execution that didn't cost them so much. But the ripple effect was so big that it shocked their business. I said, that's, my brother, is what you call a winning idea. A winning idea where you don't get to spend a lot of money, but it organically grows beyond what you expect. If you can come with that kind of idea, they'll pay money. People will pay money for it. So it's not just about pumping money into it. So most of all these money I will pump money into it. Yeah, but I mean, if you pump 100 million, I'm sure it will give you something now. But when I give you just $1,000 and I say, use this for marketing, and you come back to me with $100 million from $1,000, I will know that yes, whatever it is that you've done, you can work anywhere else in the world. So that's the exciting. That's the exciting.
I'm really enjoying this interview.
It's all right. It's all right.
I'm really enjoying this.
Don't worry. I'll send you my invoice.
Okay, I have a few more questions
All
before we
right.
wrap up. So let's talk about your faith.
All right.
Yeah. So you're a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell us how your faith, being a Christian, has been able to impact your life as a person? I don't know. I mean, some people know that you're married. So let's just put it out there. You're married with
I'm
two
married
kids.
with 2 babies.
With 2 kids. So how has your faith been able to help you as a person, as the head of the family, and also in your workspace?
Okay. For me, I have always been in the faith. I've never had a time that I was not a Christian, and I think that that's an advantage for me. I was born into a Christian family. In fact, my late father was a pastor. My mom is still a pastor. So there has never been any time that God was not in the picture for me.
Wow.
So that has kind of also helped ensure that the decisions that I make, the choices that I make were influenced by God. While I was in school, there's something we used to call the triangle lifestyle. From church to classes to your hostel. And if you don't see me in church, I'll be in my hostel. If you can't see me in the hostel, just know I'm in class. I didn't have any other place to go there. But that being said, I think that formed a basic foundation for me, which meant that I want to believe that because of how I was brought up, it gave me an advantage. I kind of had life figured out. Because again, how they used to say that if you have Jesus, you have everything.
Yeah.
So from a very young age, I had life figured out. Let me put it out. Not like as if I knew everything or I knew, but it just meant that I wasn't stressed about life. In fact, I remember then I used to tell all my friends then that me, I can never be stranded. I know for certain. I had not graduated, but I used to brag to them that I'm not going to stay at home one day like this after exams. I didn't know how. I didn't know what work I would do. I didn't know what industry. I didn't even know but I just had that faith. I just had that belief. And that has always been the thing for me all through my journey in school. It has always been founded on faith. So faith had become a regular practice. So I always feel like it's an advantage. An advantage that I have over many other people. So while others are still trying to figure out how to go about life, I'm just not so bothered about it. Because again, I just feel like this is like my daily bread now. This is the life that I live every day. So it kind of simplifies it that I get the chance to then focus on what God wants me to do, as opposed to now start saying, so what career will I now go to? And how will I now sound like, this, and then of course, don't forsake the gathering of brethren. And I think that has always been a key thing for me. I used to tell my siblings, I say, man, whenever you get into a new place, whether it's in school or you just move, you need to find the nearest church and form bonds. Not necessarily because they will give you connection, not necessarily because they will give you job, but it just helps you get a better route. I'll give you an example, maybe because I'm an agri person. If you plant, there's something about plants, especially some type of trees. When you plant them and they are by themselves, you will see how far their roots will go down, 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 in search of water and nutrients, right? However, if you plant like three or four or five, they would interconnect such that if the middle tree needs calcium, and there's calcium in maybe 3, 5 across board, through their root network system, the current nutrient that first one is lacking will pass through underneath. That means the guy doesn't have to go down, 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 down to get the nourishment that it needs. And that's also how we also operate as human beings. You see, the moment you don't have people to interact with, you don't have a community to call your own, you realize that what would have taken you a day or two will take you 1 year and you still won't get it. What should have taken you 1 hour, a phone call away, you will spend 10 years and you still won't get that thing. And that has been what I've discovered also. So when I was in school, I had a fellowship, 9 Fest, that I attended, and 9 Fest was like everything for me. I had people that were still friends today, we still talk with that. My relationship with them also helped my work with God. Also helped me to identify that, come on, this is what I'm passionate about, by helping them. Sometimes through service, you realize where your true calling is. So that helped me. And then, of course, when I left school and I joined the Headstone Church, I knew that, man, I can't just be a floor member. That was not how we were trained in our own house. You must be working for God. My parents were workers, for crying out loud. We grew up to waking up very early in the morning to go to church. That was the thing. So immediately I knew, man, I had to join the choir department, and I made myself very useful in church. And what I've discovered is that by means of making yourself useful to God, you know how there's people who always say that if you pay attention to God, God also pays attention to you. It happens so seamlessly that without you even thinking about it, you just realize that things are just working for you without you even working really hard at it. And once you discover that, you no longer pay too much attention to the secular things. And so I need to attend this meeting. I need to do this. Like, God doesn't want to take care of themselves. Let me just take care of God. Let me take care of God. What God really wants. That's my ministry. Let me make all of that stuff work. Once that is working, and God's work in my hand is working very well, you will just see that everything. Look at any pastor today that are doing business. You just know that their business, it just they blow, it just they flourish. I don't. How is this guy blending business and God? Forget it. They're not doing so much. They are not. It's not like I say they're not working. Let me get me wrong, but it's an advantage for them because it becomes seamless. Because where they are really putting their effort, their interest is in God. That's where they put their sleepless night through. They put their investments, their work, everything. They pay so much attention to God, such that it makes a lot of sense when God says, "Man, you have poured yourself to me. Forget it." I mean, we saw in the Bible now. God did the same thing for David. When David poured himself, God said, "For this one that you have done, this is how I'm going to repay you back."
Yeah.
I mean, God is not a user.
Yeah.
He's a rewarder.
He's a rewarder of those that diligently seek
Yes.
him.
Yes.
Oh, well, in case you don't know, he's a pastor.
I pastor sometimes.
Okay, two more questions.
All right.
Because this interview, God.
It's plenty. It's plenty. This should have been a podcast.
It should have been. It should have been. Should have been. Two more questions. Okay. So, if you could go back in time and give advice to your younger self before starting this journey, what would it be?
I had this same conversation with my wife, and I told my wife, I said, "See, because of you, if I had to go back in time, I would not change anything. Because if I changed one thing, I will meet you." The truth of the matter is that if I could go back in time, where I am now, I probably would not be there. Anything could have happened, right? And I don't think I want to entertain that thought to say, "Oh, maybe I would have been the president of Nigeria." I don't think I would. And chances are that all of the people that I've come to meet and love and adore today, I would not have met them. Let's say maybe I went back in time and then I was not crazy about medicine and I went to art class. Maybe I would not have studied agriculture.
True.
And if I did study agriculture, I would not have met my wife because I met her in school. And if I didn't meet her, probably I would have been married to another person today. So I always say that if I mistakenly go back in time and change one thing, it would change the entire course of the life that I have now. And I am grateful for the life I have now. So because I'm not living in regret at this moment, I don't think I want to change anything. If I was living in regret now, I would have said, more that boss where I entered that day, I'm not going to. But because right now I'm grateful for the life that I have, I'm grateful for my wife, my two beautiful kids. I'm grateful for the work that I'm doing and all of the people that God has placed in my life right now at this moment. I don't think I want to go back and change anything because that would just mean that I don't like what I have now and I want to have a different life. So that's my own take.
That's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep. Wow. Hey, God, you Pastor Daniel. All right. So, last question.
All right, shoot me.
So, what do you ultimately hope to leave behind, both in your industry and in the lives of the people you impact?
Man, this question is a deep one. It's a deep one. If there is anything that I've always given me satisfaction, I think it's in the fact that I've been able to help people also find their purpose. Is it whether it's helping them find their confidence, helping them? I mean, I've been privileged enough to help a lot of people in the line of my work, whether it's in church or in the workplace, to become better versions of themselves. Bring out the giants that's inside them. And I think that if there's anything I really want to be known for as an impact, it will be that to be recorded that while I had an interaction with a person, whether from work or personally or whichever way, I'm able to help them actualize a different version of themselves than what they were when they met with me. Whether it's encouraging them to take on bigger risks or encouraging them to make use of the gifts that God has placed in them. That would be it for me. Again, like I said, I'm a natural problem solver. My brain is always thinking of how to solve problems. So I see something, I'm like, the best way to solve this thing would be this. So what I feel would be my ultimate impact is really truly leaving that impact of solved problems. So you have an issue, and I'm able to, in my own little way, I'm able to help you navigate from part A to part B. I mean, sometimes I get very busy, but in my own way, which is something I'm now more intentional about, because again, this is something that I enjoy doing. It's something that comes to me naturally. So I don't just want my problem solving to stop at work, marketing. I want my problem solving to move to community. I want it to move to, my neighbors. So I'm talking to my neighbor and I realize that this is your generator, you get at the B. Let me help you solve that problem. I notice that this is the issue you have here. Rather than it just, hey, how many people waiting in my office at the help? You understand? So I want it to be a community thing, oh, I noticed that the road is not good. God will provide us with money to fix the road. Oh, the gate is not good, fix it. That really is where the bigger picture is for me, to be able to not just solve people's personal problems and life problems, but to also take that attributes that I have, to also solving much much bigger problems. Ultimately, maybe we solve Nigeria's problem one day. That would be the day. So that's it for me.
Wow, wow. PD,
Mm.
thank you so much for all this your insights that I know that if we start to pay money gone, you know go dey enough. No, no, no. Like this is beautiful. It's beautiful. By the grace of God, it's something we're working on program in Africa. Later on in the year, we'll let you know. We'd like to bring you on board. We know that you're very busy, but we'll start telling you down on time so that so that you can make time
I'll
for
make
us.
time.
Yeah. So
Oh,
thank you
I will.
so much for coming here, and we appreciate you.
You are
Appreciate you. Thank you so
You are
much.
welcome in the name of the Lord.